Before we begin the episode, I would like to thank our sponsor, Chin Up Goggles, the latest vision restriction sport training aid. The goggles eliminate your downward vision, encouraging you to constantly look outward, making it the ideal training accessory for you and your teammates. You can find them on social media at Chin Up Goggles or their website chinupgoggles.com, which will be linked in the description box below. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome back to the Sideline Live podcast. You can follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 32, I am delighted to be joined by former Irish Senior Women's Basketball International and now Irish Senior Women's Rugby International, Aoife McDermott. On this episode, we had a really interesting chat about her career, deciding to pick up rugby, the challenges of a new sport, and rising to the top. I hope you enjoy. Hi Aoife, thanks a million for coming on the podcast.
Thanks a million for having me, Orla.
Would you be able to give maybe a little background or elevator pitch for the listeners who might not know who you are?
Yes, my name is Aoife McDermott. I'm a member of the Irish Women's Rugby team, former Irish basketball player, and I'm from Sligo.
Very good. So we're going to go back to Sligo, growing up, getting into sport. Who got you down? Who got you involved? What was originally your interest? I know you had basketball. Was there anything else really that kind of took your interest from a young age?
Yeah, I played loads of sports growing up. I'm from like a really small village in rural Sligo, and community games is king, and like the GAA is the heart of the community and stuff. So grew up like playing Gaelic football, soccer, and then through the community games I would have played like Olympic handball. You do the athletics day once a year, and I went to Mosney in the shot put when I was like under 14 or something, and I'd done it before. So played loads of stuff growing up and loved it, but then like started secondary school and found basketball, and that quickly just took over and became my number one sport for many years.
Mm-hmm. And were you always tall? Because I think you're 6'3". Am I right in thinking that? Yeah.
6'2".
6'2".
But yeah, like always tall. Mum was like, when I was small, like when I was like 4 years old, I was like in 5 to 6 clothes. Mum was be telling me. So yeah, very tall. My dad and all his side of the family are quite tall. Like my granny was over 6 foot.
Oh wow.
Family. Yeah, so like even all my cousins and the girl cousins on that side of the family, they're all very tall. So none quite 6 foot, but all good 5'10s, 5'11s and stuff. So it's great.
Yeah, you took well to the basketball then. How did you find starting out in secondary school?
Yeah, I suppose the height is just such a natural advantage. And just having played all those other sports growing up, I suppose I was just kind of naturally athletic and took to it really quickly. And as I say, instantly fell in love with it and just wanted to pursue it and go as far as I could with it very early on into my sporting career. When I started in secondary school, I was just playing with the first year team, and the coach there kind of suggested that I should go into a club in Sligo town, which I did. I went into the Sligo All-Stars, and that was an extra couple of nights training a week and more regular matches and stuff like that. So I was given, great opportunities, and I was very lucky that, my parents were willing to support me by, driving me in and all of that. So it was great. Yeah, I loved it.
And when did it start to become kind of, you obviously maybe had a bit of natural talent there, as you said, from the other sports, you had the height. When did the hard work start to really kick in? You were like, I love this now, I really want to take myself to the next level.
It was very early, as I say. Like I took it up when I was 12, and definitely at 12 years old, the goal was to play for Ireland and to.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like I just fell in love with it, and I, once I kind of realised that was a possibility that, you can play for Ireland in the sport, I just made every single training session for the first like few years of my career. Like I never missed one, and just was really driven like to go down and put up extra shots and work on my ball handling and different, just work on those core skills. And as I say, I was lucky with good coaching, and they put, like, although I was 12, I was like playing up under 14s, under 16s at like above my age grade, and just getting to play with bigger, stronger players. You have to kind of get up to that level, and I was continuously pushed in a very positive way to try and become the best player I could be. So as I say, the goal was there very early on, but it obviously took a few years to kind of come to fruition.
Yeah, how long was the gap of, you were 12, wanted to play for Ireland, which is brilliant, you were really early in and you know what you wanted, but I think you were cut early on from a team. You didn't make an underage squad, was it?
Yeah. The first one I went for, I suppose I would have been trying out. I'm a '91 baby, so I would have tried out for the 1990 baby squad. So it would have been a year young, and I remember trialing for that, and it just went very bad. And I remember it was on in Limerick, and it was a 1 day trial where you just played matches for the day, and I fell on my ass in a jump ball. I couldn't make a shot, like couldn't do anything right. And I just had totally like let the nerves get the better of me and kind of almost convinced myself on the drive down that it wasn't going to go well. And that was the reality of it. But the following year I went back and, I was another year older and, a lot more basketball under my belt and stuff, and made that squad, which you start off on like a squad of 40 and you train for 2 years and it gets cut every so often. And then the final 12 gets announced. So it was a long process, and it took, so that was age 12 to 16, so 4 years to kind of make the first Irish squad. But it was great. Yeah, it was a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice by my parents, really driving me all around the country for 2 years on end, to make it happen. But it was brilliant.
You talk about their sacrifice, hard work. What were the other lessons maybe that you learned from not being picked and not performing really at what it sounds like you didn't perform at the 1990s trial? You kind of got in your head maybe a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the lesson I took away, is to just kind of back yourself. And I yeah, as I say, I drove, like when my mum drove me down that day, I'd all the fears and what ifs and worst case scenarios kind of playing out in my head, and as I had almost like convinced myself I wasn't going to play well that day, and then I didn't play well that day. So just to like the following year, I suppose I felt better prepared. Was more determined to just go in and give it my best. And if something didn't go well, the next thing, was going to work to try and make the next shot or get the next rebound, or sprint back on D, or whatever it was. Those are the lessons that I kind of took away from it, and I suppose to just not give up as easy, which
Mm-hmm.
I probably might have done the first time.
Yeah, natural when you're so young, you only need a setback to really push yourself and move on. What was it like then with or you were on the 12, you were part of the 12 that were cut, like in the team, that made the team. Was there Europeans that year, or was that kind of, what way did the squad work back then?
Yeah, so when you make the original 40, as I say, you train for the 2 years preparing for your European Championships. That was 2007 when I made the Irish under 16 team, and we played in the Europeans in Italy. So
Mm-hmm.
it was brilliant. Like we had a class summer of, like, we went to Holland and Slovenia on warm up tournaments, and then over to the Europeans in Italy, and my family travelled over and got to play against, loads of the top nations. And we, won some matches, lost the matches, but overall just a great experience to like put on the jersey for the first time, hear the national anthem, and all the little things that go along with it. Like it was a phenomenal experience, and I'm still friends with loads of those girls today, like even though it's many years later now.
Yeah, oh, that's lovely. What's it like for the first time putting on the jersey and hearing the anthem? Do you realize how big of a deal it is, or do you think it, like, does it sink in? You're like, oh my god, I'm representing my country.
Oh, it's class. Like, it's so hard to put into words, and like, even I just think you appreciate it more and more each time you get the honor of doing it. But yeah, back then it was brilliant. You're all standing there, and we played England in our first match. So it was like that even extra bit of added rivalry,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're just like getting ready to go to war, and you're like feeling so lucky that you're the chosen one to go out and represent your country at this time, at this event. That's really special.
Yeah. Do you ever get emotional? Because I feel like if that happened to me, I'd just start crying or something on the court.
Yeah, sometimes, like definitely in the last game of the Six Nations this year, I was holding back the tears there as Ireland's call was happening, because it was the last game, and you're like, right, well, you just never know. And with COVID and
Yeah.
everything, and injuries and just sport, like you just never know when the next time will come around. So it's very much just cherishing that the last game there, and very much hoping that there'll be another day out soon, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of talking about that. So under 16, you finished up. Was there under 18 then after that? How did that all work there?
Yeah, complicated story. Basketball Ireland ran into a bit of financial difficulty kind of post my under 16 championships, and all national teams got cut and were cut for about 6 years. So for my under 18 Irish team, we self-funded and travelled to America to play in an NCAA tournament, which was
Oh,
brilliant.
wow.
Yeah, it was great, and we got to play against top high school teams, and there was college scouts and different things like that there, which was great, like just a great experience to have had. Wasn't, it's not the same as the Europeans and competing in a international tournament, but look, still getting to wear a green jersey and be chosen to be one of the best to represent your country at that time, which was a lovely honour. I had no under-20s team for the same reasons, and then had to wait kind of a few years following that to get an official cap at senior level. But yeah, basketball Ireland are doing good things now, and they're back on track, and all teams are back up and competing well at the European level, which is great to see.
Yeah, fantastic. Speaking about that, the under-18 team from 2018 Division A, like really considering where they were, like it's brilliant to see them getting back on track. And talking about that tournament, you kind of said college scouts. Was that ever an idea for you? Should I go to the States, or were you always kind of focused maybe on staying in Ireland?
No, it definitely like crossed my mind and stuff like that, and I did have a few offers and things. Never really seemed to work out, and I suppose I like my parents and myself, we weren't too up to date on like how it worked and the getting my SATs done and different things like that. So it just never really came to fruition, and definitely no regrets. Like I had an amazing college experience in Ireland, and friends for life through the teams that I've played on, and maybe would never have found rugby if we just wouldn't. You never know what might have happened, but I don't have any regrets with how things have panned out.
Mm-hmm. You have an interesting story about college and leaving cert and kind of being inspired to get into the career you are now. Do you want to take the listeners through a little bit of that story?
Yeah, I am a qualified intellectual disability nurse. I'm currently working in research, but working with people with intellectual disabilities is definitely a huge passion of mine. I remember I think I was coming home from some tournament or something at one point, and the World Special Olympic Games were on in Ireland, and just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Athletes competing at the highest level. I love the Olympics in any form, and was very much just inspired to try and work with those people and help promote their quality of life in whatever way I could. And I always also had a passion in nursing as well. And for me, it just seemed like you could marry sport and nursing, and working with people with special needs. It all just tied in so well to intellectual disability nursing. So pursued a career in UL, or the course in UL there, and yeah, that's what I'm qualified to do.
Brilliant. Your time in UL was pretty significant. You got involved with the teams there. Talk us through that success. Like looking at that team, phenomenal bunch of players. You spoke about it before on other podcasts. It just sounded like in a fantastic environment.
Yeah, it was incredibly special, and I feel very, very lucky to have been part of something so rare. I think it's very, very rare when you meet a group of players, a group of athletes who all sing off the same hymn sheet, all of the time, and all work towards a one common goal. And it doesn't matter if you're on the starting five or player number 12. Everyone was just there to do a job and rode in, and we just had a really, really special team culture. I was kind of the baby of the team for many years, just having, started college and stuff, and really kind of learned what it meant to be a successful athlete, having played with so many high caliber Irish players, to Olympians, and we were very lucky to have had a huge amount of success. But I definitely attribute like my transition into rugby and my success through rugby from a lot of the lessons and hard work and stuff that I would have learned during my time with the UL Huskies.
Okay, can you speak a little bit about those lessons, and is there anything you took from that experience that you really implement now with Ireland?
Yeah, so we would have, like, a lot of our training sessions, everything was very game focused, match focused, and didn't matter what drill you were doing, it was for a reason. You weren't just running through drills because the coach had set them up. It was to get better at your shot, make your layups under pressure, work on your transition defense, all these kind of things that you would then bring into a game. So definitely carry that through into my rugby career, even any training session now. Like, why are we doing this? What's the purpose? And how can I bring this into a match day? We had an amazing sports psychologist at the time, Kieran Shanahan, who did a huge amount of work with us in terms of we had like this 3-stop mentality where we just prided ourselves on having really strong, really aggressive defense, and getting 3 stops in a row, and we would celebrate that more than like a 3-point play or an and one play or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah, we worked on like we had this like mantra of next play. So if a team scored, or if you made a bad pass or a turnover or whatever it was, that you was like, right, next play, next job. So whether it was get back on D, get the next stop, or let's get up the court and get a score. It was just you there was no point getting angry and frustrated about a mistake that you've made, because you can't change it. So it's just about, having a positive impact straight away again, and that's huge in any sport, and bringing into like definitely rugby, for me, whether it's a knock on or a missed tackle or a bad pass or whatever, mistake that you've made. There's no point getting frustrated and caught up and overthinking it for the rest of the game, because it's only going to have a negative impact. Whereas just try and do your next job well.
Yeah, 100%. And is that something like that next play sort of mantra? Is that something that you're telling yourself, or is that teammates telling one another, or just kind of the group just bought into it and you didn't even need to say to it one another?
It was definitely something we were all kind of saying throughout the game and stuff. Like, once the mistake happened, it was like, right, next play. Someone would say it, and then you're just refocused on the next job, that you're kind of automatically just switching your focus to the next play. That it's, just forget about it. Don't be frustrated. It's done. We can't change it. Next job.
Yeah. And then a couple of years with there, you played with DC Mercy. I don't mean to skip through everything, but 2016 silver medalist with Ireland senior women's. The program was re-announced. You got your senior cap, but you were disappointed with that tournament.
Yeah. Oh, definitely still cuts deep. I was chosen to represent Ireland at the European Championships it was in Gibraltar in 2016. So because we had dropped out of the international scene when this was our first tournament back in, you compete in the small countries tournament, and then with the goal of winning and getting back into Division B, and then building towards Division A over time. So we had high hopes of winning that tournament and getting back into Division B, where we would have finished prior to the national squad being cut. And it was great, like, and again, getting to represent the country is brilliant, but we had a very clear goal going into that competition, and we didn't achieve it. And I know a European silver medal is very special, and I'm very proud of it now, a few years on looking back, but I sure devastated walking off the pitch that day. I think we were up by 10 points at half time, and I think we lost by 10 points in the end against Malta. And I don't think I had a particularly strong game. I always think if you play well and you give it your all, and you have a very strong performance, and things just don't work out, then you've given it your all and you can be proud of that. But I think I underperformed that day, in my own opinion anyways. And then we lost the match, and you're just disappointed, and you're just, it's a hard one to take. But sure, look, that's sport, and you can't win them all. And there's definitely loads of learnings from it, so we just have to take those and move on, really.
Exactly. Yeah, move on, and kind of like that next play mentality. What's next? And you were involved in the Sky Sports Living for Sport ambassador program with Katie Taylor, Annalise Murphy, Jenny Murphy. Jenny was kind of the person to spark the idea of rugby. Am I right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I had trialed it a little bit in college, with UL Bows before that, but basketball was still very much my love at that time, and I wasn't really ready to step away from it. But following the Europeans, I did feel like I had achieved a huge amount in basketball through the UL Huskies, and having medaled at that Europeans. And I definitely was looking for a new challenge. With that Europeans, the small country Europeans, it happens every 2 years. So it was 2 years I was going to have to wait to get a chance to represent my country. And yeah, I worked with Sky Sports Living for Sport, which was an amazing organization that just sent athletes around to schools to kind of tell their story, and hopefully inspire kids to go out and work hard and achieve their dreams, and just to show that, like, we're normal. Like, we grew up, like, I grew up in a small rural village. None of my family are from a big sporting background. I just worked really hard, and with a little bit of luck, managed to represent my country, and just to show kids that anything's possible. And that could of course be any of them as well, if that was their dream and they were willing to work hard enough for it. So yeah, Jenny was on the program, and she kind of was like, would you give rugby a go? And a few phone calls later ended up at like a sevens training session. And a few weeks later, I was sitting with Anthony Eddy, and he was like, "Do you know what? Now I think you're more of a 15s girl." So I headed off to Railway to basically try and learn the rules because I hadn't a clue, and he was just being very polite in telling me that. And so yeah, I headed off to Railway, and sure, the rest is history.
Yeah, that's it. And how did you find joining like a new sport and, as you said, having to learn the rules and just be like, this is a completely new challenge?
Yeah, definitely it was a massive challenge, and it was honestly terrifying because, as I say, I was walking away from the Irish basketball team to play rugby, like a sport I'd never really played, non-contact to full contact, and really didn't know the rules. And um, I did go into rugby with the aim of playing for Ireland. Like that
Okay.
was the that was the reason I did it. But I had no idea, was that a realistic goal? Was it an absolute pipe dream? It's very easy with hindsight now to say, yeah, it was great and it was the best thing ever. But the first while was very challenging because I had so much to learn, and the more I learned, the more I realized how much I had to learn. And like in my height, albeit great in basketball, it makes certain aspects of rugby very hard, like tackling and rucking. They're harder, and having to get, like, your low body height into with carries and stuff like that. It's challenging and something I'm forever and continuously trying to improve and work on and stuff like. So wasn't easy, but as I say, hindsight's great, and you can be like, yeah, definitely a best decision.
Yeah, best decision ever. And what was it like then? Like, you were kind of coming in, you probably didn't really know what was going on for the first little while, but you got to grips with it. Confidence, like during that period of time, are you relying on others to say, look, if you're like, you're doing great, you're getting there, or in your head, are you like backing yourself 100%? Yeah, I'm going here. I'm going to play for Ireland. I'm going to do this. Or what's that time like? Because I think
Yeah.
going from like you're a senior international in one sport to a complete beginner in another, like that's a really big jump.
Yeah, it was, and I definitely didn't have that level of confidence where I was convinced it was going to work out, by no means. I was lucky that in Railway, the coaches backed me, and there's a very high level of international players there and a very high standard of players, who really supported me and helped me along, and just gave me little tips here and there, and did extra bits with me after training to, help me along. And so I suppose, like, again, just that I had a natural athletic ability, and had a raw skill set, that they were like, they must have seen potential in and were willing to, put in the extra miles. But no, there was definitely huge self-doubt and huge like days where I just didn't think it was the right decision, or like just thought I was a bit mad. And sure, you've always the doubters as well telling you that you're mad doing it. But
Yeah.
thankfully persevered and listened to the positive chat and the coaches and my teammates and stuff who were helping me along. And yeah, slowly still learning the rules, but slowly getting there. For the law.
Yeah. And like, I'm trying to get like the sense, like I've been listening to like the high performance podcasts, other athletes, you can tell like the really competitive ones love the challenge. Did you love being like, I'm a complete beginner? Like, well, on the good days, maybe not the bad days, you were like, this is
Oh yeah.
great. I'm really pushing myself here.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to like strive for that challenge, because if you're it comes back to that working hard. Like, if it comes too easy, then it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So you have to just, like, that massive challenge of learning a new sport, learning how to tackle, learning how to ruck, learning all of this stuff. I did love it, and I loved, like, going home and watching rugby, and what did we just done in training, and then like trying to pick it out in a match, or like lineouts. Now I'm like totally obsessed with them and watching them all the time. Like, I love it. But yeah, yeah, I just loved the challenge of it, and just that like just trying to get to the next level all the time. Like, it wasn't like there was loads of little goals and steps along the way to making the Irish team, but it was, making the Railway first team, starting jersey, holding on to that starting jersey, Leinster trials, Leinster squad, Leinster starting 15, Irish squad, Irish bench, Irish starting 15. There was loads of little milestones, and many more in the middle of that, like learning how to ruck, learning how
Mm-hmm.
to tackle, all along the way as well.
Okay, cool. So would you set yourself those little goals kind of going along, right? Railway, make to 15, Leinster trials, Leinster bench, Leinster team. Is that kind of how you did it? Or was it just kind of, let's just keep going here? It's kind of like a little snowball.
bit of both, I think. Like you're always kind of aware of what's the next big thing or the next like item to achieve, but you just kind of take it as it comes as well, for sure.
Mm. And what was it like then? Like, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong now, the timeline, it was within a year you were selected to play for Leinster and within two for Ireland. Am I right in saying that?
Uh, yeah, so I started playing, say, September 2018, 2016, and then by the following September, I think was the Interpros, and I was playing for Leinster, and then the following March, I was playing for in the Six Nations.
And the unseen, I call them unseen hours, what's it like trying to bridge the gap between, getting on the railway first team, then bridging the gap to all the way up? Like, how much extra work do you do? You were saying you're obsessed with watching lineouts and clips. Like, what is that like? The stuff we don't see as fans or when we're watching TV?
Yeah, there's a good bit of like behind the scenes work, and even today, like with Ireland, all of our sessions are recorded on Huddle.
Okay.
You'll go back and watch training that day and what went well, what didn't go well, or did I make the right decision there? And same with like railway matches and stuff. Like you're going back and you're like analyzing your performance and seeing, was it a 3v2? Did I execute it right? Did I make the right option by carrying it in, or should I have passed it? Or um, was I looking up and scanning the defense, like in defense, like was I scanning the opposing attack? And you're always kind of trying to learn from the match before. Like I suppose, albeit as I say, I have that next play mentality, but once the game ends, you do need to go back and reflect and take the learnings and try and work on those and implement and be better the next day. So that's always a continuous process, and definitely with Ireland even now, like watching opposition lineouts, watching their defensive style, what attacking lineouts can we run against this to maximize it, and what defensive style should we run to disrupt and cause them as much hassle as we can in a game. All that kind of stuff is massive kind of behind the scenes and takes a lot of time, but I enjoy it, so I don't mind so much.
Yeah. And what's it like then? So if you're doing like if you're scheduled Ireland, then let's say you do probably a couple of pitch sessions, gym. I don't know, some of it's the weekend. How much video then is incorporated? Because I think video is only really starting to become like a really big thing because of the technology, obviously. But people are starting to see the positives and the advantages with using it.
Yeah, a lot of it is self-driven and self-directed, so you have to
Okay.
do it yourself in your own time and stuff. We don't have enough time together as a squad to sit back and watch full sessions and stuff. Coaches will clip um highlights and lowlights, and discuss them like the next day in a team meeting prior to heading out onto the pitch, and that kind of stuff. And we're very good as a squad, and it's something we're getting better at each campaign, is having those discussions within the player group and sending clips to each other. Like I work very closely with Nicola Friday a lot. We both kind of lead on the line out. Regularly we would send clips to each other or have discussions on what we think went well, what we think didn't go well, and stuff like that over a camp weekend or a match and stuff like that.
Okay, brilliant. And you mentioned there is training basically then mostly weekends. How does that all work? Because it's not your full time job. You're not professionals. You have a lot of things on in your life.
Yeah, no, unfortunately we're not professional. So all full squad training sessions happen the weekend, but during the week you would do a couple of gym sessions, maybe a club training session, a couple of runs, or off-peak conditioning. Depends on the week and the time of year and stuff like that. But it's all very much prescribed for us by our S&C. And then at the weekends, usually we'll head into camp on a Friday evening for gym and skills, and then Saturday will be two pitch sessions, and Sunday two pitch sessions. And like I say, within that you'll have team meetings and different bits and bobs as well. So it's the weekends are full on. As is during the week and stuff, but you get used to it, and you get good at managing your time and prioritizing what needs to be done, and getting on top of stuff like that. But yeah, most of the squad is we're like the squad full squad is together just at weekends, because we've players based all around the country and some in the UK.
Hmm. After all the training, after all the goals and learning everything about the sport, what was it like getting the first cap for Ireland?
Unreal. Yeah, it was class. Very emotional day. It was a mad. My first cap story is mad. I was named on the bench. I remember getting the call earlier in the week from Griggs and just being like over the moon. It was round three of the Six Nations, and I was just over the moon. Like I was floating for the week. And long story short, as I say, I was named on the bench, but poor Nicola Friday got appendicitis and was ruled out of playing. So about 2 hours before the match, I was bumped up into the starting 15. So I ended up playing the full match, and it was great because I didn't have to really like wait the whole match to be like, will I get on, will I not? I was just thrown in, and there I was, and I had to just do it.
Yeah.
So brilliant. And like that, like hearing the national anthem and Ireland's call for the first time was so special, and my family were there, and we won the match, and it was just brilliant, like so special. And as I say, it was the day where you were like, yeah, it was the right decision to, step away from basketball and give this the go, because it had paid off at that point.
What's that conversation like 2 hours before the match where like, Aoife, you're actually starting today?
Oh, it's terrifying. I was so nervous. It happened in the car park. we were going out to do like a walk through, and he just called me over, and then he like told everyone after he told me, and I'd say it was as white as a ghost. I remember like one of the girls came up to me after, and this really stuck with me, and it really settled my nerves at the time. She was like, "You'll be grand, Aoife. Like you've played for Ireland before. You're fine. You've done it before. You're grand."
Brilliant.
Oh, yeah, and it just kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah, I have played for Ireland before, and I survived that, so I'll survive this, and it just really kind of focused me, and I just instantly kind of thought about the game and what I had to do, and not really the occasion of it. That kind of came once the final whistle was blown. So it was great. Yeah, loved it.
That even I felt the effect there. Like because you forget, you probably did forget. Like I've actually played basketball for Ireland. I've represented my country already. Not like I've been there, done that, but like I kind of did. Like
yeah, kind of, but not really, because it's a completely different sport.
Yeah,
and all of that. But yeah, at that moment, it was exactly what I needed to hear, and it just helped settle my nerves and focus me on what needed to happen right there and then, like for what I needed to do for the team. So it was great.
And do you get nervous then usually before a game, or is that something you're just kind of like, I'm grand now?
I definitely get a little bit nervous. Not so much that it would like affect my sleep or my preparations and stuff like that. I kind of have the preparation and stuff down to a T, that I do the same thing, eat the same thing, same music all the time on the bus, all that kind of stuff. But no, definitely get a bit nervous. I hate like just like they say the hour just before you're waiting to get on the bus to go to the match. I love when you arrive to the pitch and you're doing like just a walk around, or just about, I love getting out to do the warm up, because then it's go time, it's show time, and I just love that, like being in the zone and focused, ready to go. But then you come back in and you're putting on the jersey and you're waiting to go out for the national anthem, so you get a little bit nervous again. But it's great, like it's all good nerves, and it's just, I think nerves are brilliant because it means you care, and it means, you want it to go well, and you're prepared to, give it your all and stuff. So I see them as a positive thing, and thankfully I don't let them affect me too much.
Brilliant, yeah, because you hear some athletes like getting sick and all this before games, and like nerves really like impacting them. But good to hear, like you're kind of a cool customer. I get the sense.
Yeah, I try and just keep fairly level-headed, and as I say, try and not let it affect me too much.
What sort of tunes now are you playing on the way to a game? What's on your playlist?
Oh, sure, look, love The Greatest Showman for like pre-game. That's a bit of Westlife, because I'm from Sligo and I love them. Just real cheesy tunes, that kind of stuff. Wouldn't be into like big rap tunes like some of the girls would and stuff. But we're a very eclectic mix, the whole lot of us. But mine are pretty cheesy.
Okay, so you have the headphones on when other people maybe have the speaker going.
No, everyone have the headphones on now.
Right.
Like on the bus match checks. It's your time and you're in the zone, and you have to get your head right. We'll have like tunes and stuff blaring like after captains run and stuff, but on game day it's all business.
Okay.
Whatever you can't be distracting others.
Very good. Very good. Nice and individual. And 2019, you got to go to Sydney with one of your Irish teammates to further develop your game. I love all these, like, I love when I hear players go to different countries and different sports and all this stuff. How did that opportunity come about? What was it like? Just talk us through that experience.
It's such an amazing time. I love it. Half my Irish teammates are so sick of me talking about the time I was but I had a ball. Yeah, I was very lucky with myself and Anna Capeless. Just got the opportunity to go over and play for Eastern Suburbs rugby team who are based in Bondi and Sydney. So like lived the dream there for about 4 months.
Wow.
Pro athlete. Came through a couple of girls that used to play for Railway, had emigrated over and were playing for East, and they had just set up their women's section the year before and had flown over two Scottish girls, and this year they were just looking for two more international players to come over and just kind of strengthen the team. And hopefully, the girls that were playing, they were quite new to rugby and still very much learning the ropes, so just kind of some experienced heads to come in and kind of help out and kind of lead the charge on game days and stuff. So we were very lucky to get the opportunity to go, and we had a great time. Like, we were very well looked after, and the club were amazing to us, and it was lovely to just play rugby for a few months. And we got to travel around Australia and
Oh, wow.
experience the culture and the sun and the koalas and all of that jazz. So we had a great time.
Yeah, that sounds brilliant. No wonder you're always going on about it with your teammates.
Yeah, they're so sick of hearing me talk about it. I can't wait to go back.
Biggest thing you learned from that experience in Australia, would they play a similar style, or is it very different down there, or how does that all work?
It's quite different in the sense that it's a lot of like one out pick and goes, a little bit, not much like of interlinking between backs and forwards. I thought like the standard was a little bit lower than the club scene is here in Ireland, so it was interesting to see. And like some of the Pacific Islander girls are just so big and so strong, and like I really had to like work on my tackle tech of like chopping them at the ankles, or I just wasn't going to get them to ground. So it was great to like learn different things, like some of the massive ball carriers, like how to stop them, and just I suppose it like improved my physicality in the game a little bit. So that was great. As I say, the club were very supportive of us, and we got to train with their men's team a little bit here and there, which always helps you to have to like raise standards and stuff. So yeah, it was great. Great experience, and then just really enjoyable rugby, having come from just finished like the Six Nations and then winning the AIL Railway. So it was all quite serious, quite full on rugby, to just heading over and really just enjoyable rugby for 4 months, where it was quite stress free, and I wasn't bidding for a jersey every week and stuff like that. So it was great.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds very enjoyable and kind of gives you that fresh set of eyes to the game, fresh bit of experience. Looking back through everything you've been through, having to go to Australia and get a different sense of the game, what advice would you give yourself starting off with the rugby?
I think I just tell myself to back myself and just take on as much as you can, like whatever advice people are giving to you, like listen and take it on and try and implement it, and just be just keep backing yourself, and I suppose don't have as much self-doubt as I probably did at the start.
Mm-hmm. Looking towards the future then, obviously you mentioned World Cup coming up. You posted on Instagram picture there of basketball. Is that maybe a bit of a comeback maybe?
Not pre-World Cup anyways. The
Okay.
goal definitely, like as I say, when I came into rugby, was to play for Ireland, and the second goal was to play in a World Cup, because that's just not something that's an option for Irish basketball players at the moment. We're just not at that level yet. So I think to play on in a World Cup on the world stage would be an absolute pinnacle of my career. So at the moment, that's very much the goal and what I'm striving for. But I'd love to play another basketball match at some stage. Hopefully post that, definitely.
Post the World Cup. When sport is all said and done, you retire, hopefully not for a good few years now. What do you want to be remembered for?
It's a tough question. I just love to be remembered for working hard, giving it my all for my teammates, and hopefully leaving that jersey in a better place. I hope we qualify for this World Cup, we perform well, and Irish rugby goes from strength to strength, and hopefully I'll have played a small part in that.
Brilliant. So we're going to move on to the sideline 7. It's the same 7 questions at the end of each episode. Question 1, what is your favourite quote?
My favourite quote is hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard.
It's self-explanatory, and from chatting to you, that seems to be like the common factor from when you were 12, just hard work, determination, just go for it like.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you'll see across every sport that like talent, not the most talented athlete doesn't always make it, but the hardworking one will. Like they'll outpass any lazy players. And yeah, I'd have a hard working teammate any day of the week.
Best sporting event you've been to?
I was lucky enough to go to the London 2012 Olympics where I watched my teammate Rachel Van der Waal play for GB against Australia in the basketball, which was just class. Like getting to walk around the Olympic Village for the day and got to meet Rachel after, and just to have been at an Olympic, amazing. So that's probably my favorite one so far.
Is there any standout one that you've played in yourself?
Um, Six Nations is always very special. That European Championships with in Gibraltar for the senior women's team, they're always great because they're all the teams are together. You're kind of all in the same hotel. It's always a good bit of crack. That was very special too. It's hard to kind of pick one for
It's a,
myself.
yeah, you don't need to wait till you retire and then you look back a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm hoping the World Cup will be that one. The answer is
Yeah,
that one in a
it's
year
the
or so.
best is yet to come. There we go.
Yeah,
There's the answer.
hopefully.
Um, your biggest achievement on or off the pitch or court?
um, biggest achievement. I think I'm very proud of the fact that I represented Ireland in two sports. I think that's very special and rare. So that's probably my biggest achievement so far.
I wonder. That's definitely rare. I wonder how many. I wonder if there's a list somewhere that you can check. I'll have to look up after this because you're joining yourself, Louise Galvin, Lindsay Pease. There's a bit of a trend, maybe. Maybe you're
There is
part of the
quite a
trend.
few of us, yeah. Well, they were definitely inspiration to me making this transition. And sure, Lindsay's leading the charge there. She has soccer on that list and Dublin GA as well. So she's another level altogether.
Oh yeah, mental, mental. Looking back, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
Similar to what we've kind of discussed already, just to back yourself and just believe in yourself that I can achieve great things and just take every opportunity that comes your way and just enjoy the journey.
Dream dinner guest and why?
I think I'd say Michael Jordan. I just loved The Last Dance that was on Netflix last year, and I just think
Yeah,
his mentality is so interesting, and I just love to learn more about it and more about that time with the Chicago Bulls and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think he'd be a very interesting dinner guest.
yeah. That the last dance was something else. Just I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. If you haven't seen it, just watch it. Cause can you describe it? I don't know if anyone can.
No, it's just a great insight to a team that achieves something amazing, and I just think their team dynamic, given like the different caliber and the different mentalities of players. I think their coach was amazing to keep them all together and unified and all happy. Like, when you have such superstars, I would think it's very hard to please everybody, and the coach managed to do it. And like that, they all had a common goal and they just worked for each other, and it just worked, that dynamic. And I loved his mentality of like, I like he comes across as quite a tough teammate that like he really pushes them, but
Yeah,
he says he never asked them to do anything that he didn't do himself. So very, very interesting dynamics, and I think it would make for great dinner chats.
yeah, definitely. I love the clip where I think it was actually early on when they recorded it, when they were filming the documentary. He did it, but when he got upset, I think it's episode 8, 9, or 10, and they were talking about like getting on with the likes of Isaiah Thomas and people not liking him, and he got upset and he does like break or whatever. But it just shows like I found at that moment was like, oh, he's actually a human as well. He actually has the same feelings as all of us, even though
That's
he was this incredible athlete.
Yeah, exactly. And it comes back to like that Sky Sports stuff that he was just a regular kid. He grew up normal and he just achieved such great things. So he is human and he did make mistakes, and he wasn't, albeit an amazing athlete, but he definitely had like not many bad days, but he had
Yeah,
slips in there. And it was interesting to see that. Yeah, he's unbelievable, and just what he did for basketball was class.
yeah, absolutely. Final question of the Sideline 7. If your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
Oh, I think it'd be called Waiting, because I feel
Okay.
like I'm waiting for this World Cup for forever, and it's still another like year and a bit away. But yeah, waiting. But yeah.
Yeah, we're just waiting there. I actually forgot one. I think did I ask you biggest setback or challenge so far in your career?
Uh,
I don't think I asked that one.
no, and the answer I had for that one was the first time I got dropped from the Irish squad, the Irish rugby team.
Okay.
Yeah, I got dropped my second Six Nations for the game against France. And long story short, ended up a player got injured and I ended up coming back in and starting the match and playing the game. So, but I
Yeah.
just remember 4 or 5 days where I wasn't in the bubble or in the squad was very tough, very traumatic in terms of just being devastated. And again, like you realize how like how would I say?
Fragile sport could
Yeah,
be. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And like that, it's not going to last for forever, and you're not guaranteed a jersey every week, and it's definitely something I've carried with me to like work hard in every training session and really fight for the jersey every single time because it was taken away from me that day and I was devastated and I didn't know would you ever get selected again or would that
Mm-hmm.
opportunity ever come. So I just try now and work hard in every training session and put my best foot forward and put my hand up for selection and hopefully do enough to earn the jersey. But I suppose it's just it's you've no given right to that jersey and you have to earn it and you have to keep working really hard for it every
Mm-hmm.
single time because there's always somebody else coming for it and wanting it just as much as you. So you have to give it your all to try and earn it.
Absolutely. Is something like coming off with no regrets after match, is that something that you would kind of not aspire to be, but kind of in the back of your mind, I'm going to give it everything because sport is fragile. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's definitely something that you try and leave it all out there and give every match your all. I think the nature of any high performance athlete though means you'll always have regrets and you'll never have the perfect performance and you'll never quite be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Which is tough and I suppose like not fair in a way that like, but I definitely would know most of my teammates or if not all would come off going, oh, I should have done that or I could have given that pass or I wish I did that differently. And you never have the perfect performance. So which is a good thing and it's good that you recognize that because there's always something to be working on and improving on because everyone can always get better and strive for more. So yes, leave it all out there and give it your all, but there'll definitely be a learning in it somewhere along the day.
Yeah, love it. Last question before I let you go. Who would you like to see on the podcast? And whoever you do mention, I might need your help to get them on because sometimes people are a bit tricky to get a hold of.
Right. God, I don't know. Oh, I'll have to pick one of my teammates though, because if I have to help you get them on.
Yeah.
Uh, no, I'd say Lauren Delaney now loves a good podcast. That girl.
Okay.
And another basketball head
There you
transitioned.
go. Yeah.
So tie in nicely as a sequel. So yeah, I'll say her.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Lauren, if you're listening, I'll be on to it very soon. But Aoife, look, thank you so much for your time. I just want to wish you the best of luck with work, with rugby, with the World Cup, everything and beyond. And yeah, just thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it.
A massive thank you to Aoife for coming on today. I thoroughly enjoyed our chat and I just want to wish her the very best of luck moving forward. If you found value in the episode, be sure to let me know over on our social media at The Sideline Live. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you did enjoy the episode, be sure to leave a rating and a review. If you're interested in starting up your own podcast, be sure to get in touch with the Primal Productions team over on Instagram at Primal Pro.